Hi, I am Sadie Metter. I am digital editor and content manager for Quilting Daily and So Daily. And I am here with Brandy Maslowski. And I am so excited because she's taking the time to sit and chat with me. Brandy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Sadie. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of my story. So let's start with a little bit about me. I'm the quilter on fire. That is my business. And I have so much fun in the quilting world. I consider myself an art quilter, but I love to dabble in all different kinds of quilting, including modern quilting. So I had a lot of fun at the recent show. And my business has a few pillars that I like to sort of abide by. So the first one would be education. I love to teach and speak, and I'm a very educational judge. I call myself the gentle judge. The next pillar would be community, and that's where my podcast comes in. I absolutely love sharing other people's stories and lifting up creators in the quilting world. And the third part is my travel. I love to take land tours and go on quilting cruises and have some fun with that. And then also, on top of all of that wonderful quilty love, I am the editor of Quilting Arts Magazine and QuiltCon magazine. So that has been an absolutely fun new adventure for me. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That's amazing. You do it all, Brandy. You're amazing.
Yeah, I have
I
a lot
have
of.
some questions for you. Um, Yes, so I was briefly at QuiltCon on a whirlwind, and so I want to ask you what excited you most about QuiltCon this year?
Well, I think I was really excited about seeing Tara Fawnon's lecture because I'd already interviewed her for QuiltCon magazine and
Yeah.
had that close connection. It was so nice to be on Zoom with her. She did not disappoint. She really has, a feel for the landscape of modern quilting, and she kind of has a distinct contemporary style. And I don't even think she calls herself a modern quilter, but she pushes the boundaries, like her own boundaries of color. And she has a really powerful message for women, like in this quilting industry. So in her article and in her lecture, her message is kind of like value yourself, value your path, and value your work. And it's a great thing to hear that on the big stage. So I was really looking forward to that.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I missed that, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so can you give us a sneak peek into what you'll be podcasting about or what you podcasted about
Yeah,
at the
for
show?
sure.
'Cause I did see you in your booth.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my fourth year in a row, I think, at QuiltCon doing the podcast lounge. It's kind of like speed dating, but with podcasting. So I get a sneak peek into what everyone loves about QuiltCon, what they do if they have a quilt, if they have a quilty business, how they feel if they got a quilt in the show, if they've won an award. I love to get those guys in and try to talk to the winners. I want the people at home who aren't able to go to QuiltCon to get the feeling of what it's like and feel like they're right there with us. So I usually put an episode this year. I'll put it on YouTube, and it'll be out. It's usually out about 5 or 6 days after the show.
Oh, that is so great. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot on social media the FOMO around QuiltCon and for those
Yeah.
people that didn't get to go.
Yeah.
Um, and what is your favorite part about connecting with those quilters in person at events like this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's just so fun. I mean, the quilts and the lectures are always the best, but I would say, like, when you're a vendor, like I'm a vendor in a booth, like with the Oliso Story Space where I share my podcast, it's the friends actually. You see them year after year and you only see them at the shows. And it's just so nice to spend like good times with friends and you're laughing and joking and you're having all these great conversations over a really good meal. So I really love that part.
Yeah, it's such a warm community. I loved that too. So, as an editor of QuiltCon magazine, what themes or trends do you see highlighted and in this year's issue?
Well, usually what I do with each issue of every magazine is I pull some key things out and I put them on the cover. So on the cover of QuiltCon magazine this year, I highlighted Laura Henneberry. She was exploring her Korean heritage, so that was really cool because she was adopted, and so that was a really great article. Another one by Melissa De Leon Mason. She talks about finding calm in the chaos, which is really good for QuiltCon because it's big and fast and furious. It's kind of an overwhelming show. So if you can find a little bit of calm here and there, that's good. We always have a gallery of quilts from the show. We have tips and advice for attending the show and the patterns, of course. And also, there was one in like it was like a moment at QuiltCon that I really enjoyed this year. Um, there was one article in the magazine that was a collective group of people working together. So these are modern Quilt Guild members who don't have a guild, a local guild. So they're like virtual members. And they had an article in the magazine called Fractured Diffusion. It was written by Donna Siliberto, and it has such a great story because when I was at the show, I wanted to go over and see that quilt in person. And when I walked up to the quilt, they were all there. Like I guess it was about half of them, maybe. There's like 27 contributors making this quilt. At least a dozen of them were there. And I just said, I can't believe you're all here. And they were kind of like, who are you? And I was like, I'm the editor. We chose your article. And then they were all hugs and we had some great photos. So that was a really fun moment at QuiltCon because it's not very often that you get to meet all the makers in a group quilt. So that was a lot of fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Um, so the next question, how how um how has your role as editor of Quilting Arts magazine influenced your creative journey?
Oh, I just have this longing and just when I'm reading these articles, I just have this desire to drop everything and make everything I'm reading about. I'm so inspired by every issue. I just want to try every technique and take the time, like my own creative practice sometimes falls off the end of my task list. And I wish there was more time every day that I could just do it all. But I'll give you an example. There was an article recently, I think it was the spring issue 2025, and it was on making the tiniest little fabric pillow beads. Lynn Brown was the writer and maker of this article, and I just wanted to drop everything and give it a try. So when we're sort of compiling the issue, I really hope that the readers feel that way too.
I'm sure they do. I know I do.
Yeah.
What's something surprising you've learned from working behind the scenes of quilt publishing?
Ah, that's a really good question. I mean, it's a team. It really is a team event. And I think I think what I've learned the most, like I've learned so much about behind the scenes. We have this amazing managing editor, and I think I've learned that everything's figure outable. This is one of my favorite books by Marie Forleo. It's called Everything's Figure Outable. That's the title of her book. And when you have a really good team, like I'll give a little shout out to the managing editor, Christine Lundblad, because she does so much work behind the scenes, mostly making my job easier. So we work really well together and we've become friends. And also, when you have a combination of friendship and working together, then you can do anything. Like you can just come together, figure it out. Even if there's a tight deadline, you'll always figure it out. So,
Yes, I know. I love working with Christine too.
yeah, she's taught me so much.
All right. So let's move on to a slightly different topic. So, and I don't know, is this NACQJ? I'm not sure what that stands for, certified quilt judge. What do you look for in an award-winning quilt?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question too. So NACQJ, first of all, stands for National Association of Certified Quilt Judges in the USA. And I became a certified judge a few years ago. So I would say like, let's see. So the question is about what would I look for in an award-winning quilt? So I think beyond if I step beyond the usual design and technical, proficiency of the quilter, I love to see something innovative when I'm a judge. I've been behind the scenes at so many quilt shows. Sometimes I feel like I've seen it all. I see another quilt with the same kind of meandering or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
um when I see something I've never seen before that really just works, or it has a story behind it, or they've used thread in an innovative way, they're switching colors all the time or using multiple weights of thread, or, it's really, I love it when I see something that I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's understandable. How do you balance your own artistic expression with the technical precision of quilt judging?
Ah, that's a that's a good question too. You've come up with so many great questions, Sadie. Okay, so I have a business that keeps me absolutely running. And I don't really like to constantly answer the question like, how's it going with, oh, I'm so busy all the
So
time.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be effective and, purposeful and manage my time well. So I've got some time, but I often find my own personal creative practice falls off the end of my task list. So
Yeah.
I don't always get to do my own personal stuff, but at the end of the day, I really give it a good try. And also, I think it's important to get people to help you with tasks that you don't like to do. Like if you can hire a virtual assistant, or if you can get an editor. I got an editor for my podcast 8 months ago, and it was such a game changer. It gave me like 4 hours back in my day. So
Ah,
yeah, yeah, I think that helps you provide a good balance. If you can take some of the things that you like to do the least that can be done really well by other people, that's a good direction to go.
that's great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Have you noticed any emerging trends in modern quilting this year?
Yeah, I think quilters are pushing the boundaries of modern with meditative hand stitching, and, well, if you look at best in show, foundation piecing, and the technical ability has been consistently getting better and better every year at QuiltCon. I think they're trying to step outside of what we've seen before. And when you looked at the winner's circle of QuiltCon, it was really innovative, and the technical ability was really high. There was purpose-driven story quilts that had a message. Also, the clothing at the show was really a spectacle this year. Like, there were people matching their quilts to the show, the clothing they were wearing, like Lorelei, the youth winner. There were theme days with jumpsuits and caftans and something.
Oh,
So people really had a lot of fun with that this year. That kind of trend has been growing year after year. And today it was just a spectacle. I mean,
yeah.
this year it was really a spectacle. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm a clothing sewer, that's my history. And so I was like blown away. There was so much talent. It was
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
All right. Is there a particular quilt at QuiltCon that particularly caught your eye this year?
Oh, there was so many.
Favorite? I know there's so
I
many.
walked the show again and again, and I mean, I was so thrilled when Verushka won. So I mean, that was obviously amazing. But
Yeah.
the one that stopped me
So,
dead right in the middle of one of my Instagram lives was Grief by Julie Lapalm. It was this incredible female figure, and it was like split in half, and it was black and white on one side and color on the other side. And she was like clutching her face in grief,
yes.
and it was almost like the transition from this deep dark place to that you could find a brighter, more colorful future, like.
Yeah.
And it was also an original design that'll be a pattern soon, I understand. I kind of scoured her Instagram afterwards, and she's a pattern designer, and I just found out she's Canadian, same as me, so I was really excited to learn that as well. So that was Julie Lapalm. That was definitely one of my favorites.
Great. What's the most rewarding part of teaching and speaking out in the quilting world for you?
I think when it comes to teaching, it's when a student like doesn't think they can do it, and they go through the class, and then all of a sudden you hear them saying like, wow, I'm actually good at this. Or when someone comes up to me after a lecture and there's been a moment or something hit them hard or changed their view or just turned their point of view. Those kind of moments really mean a lot to me. I love it when they're set and they're thinking about something regarding themselves, and then they can change their mind, and all of a sudden more things are possible for them. So that means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You travel a lot. Do you have a favorite quilting destination or an event outside of QuiltCon?
Yeah, I think I think I often answer this question with, oh, the next trip coming up or whatever. But gosh, there's been so many wonderful places that I've been, but I really enjoyed the UK. I keep going there every single year, again and again, every summer. I love the people, the shows. I really love their British sense of humor. It's just really kind of a low key vibe.
Yeah,
So every summer, I host a tour of England and Wales for quilters, and I'll keep going every year to that Festival of Quilts. It's in Birmingham, and I'll keep going as long as that tour company will have me. It's so much fun.
that's amazing. That's amazing. What advice would you give to quilters looking to enter their first show or competition?
Oh, that okay. So I would say if you're thinking of entering a show for the first time, start at the very inception of the quilt. Don't go back and look at, oh, which quilt have I made already that I could enter. Start at the inception of your quilt and make your quilt from start to finish with showing it in mind, because that way you'll be mindful of mistakes along the way. You'll fix them immediately on the spot. You won't let them get out of hand and have to go back and fix them later. You'll put more thought into making hard choices instead of taking the easy way out. Like instead of cutting corners and I'm just going to do this quickly, you'll do it the hard way because you want it to be, more perfect in your own mind. And
Yeah.
if there was one tip I could give to people who are going to enter a show for the first time, I think it would be really good photography. Because if you don't have a square, well lit photo of your quilt that the jurors will love, it won't make it past the jury stage. So you want to make sure your photography is good.
That's some great advice.
Yeah.
All right. So, what inspired you to start Quilter on Fire podcast, and how has it evolved over the years?
Oh, well, I originally started podcasting in 2013 and it was called Canadian Quilt Talk. And I did that for I think over 200 episodes. It's not even available anymore. But I took many years off, and then a few months before the pandemic hit, I was just in a place where I was, in a fire job in emergency management. I thought, I miss my community. So it was all about community for me. So I wanted to surround myself with people who lifted me up, and I wanted to do the same for them by providing these really great interviews of makers in our community. And it was really perfect timing because I started like I think in December before the pandemic hit. I started releasing episodes just a few months before, and people really needed it at that time. So it just blossomed from there. I think I changed the way I grew over time. Was the original podcast was me talking about something and then interviewing a guest and back and forth. And I was trying to do all this studying and research to make sure I'm pushing some information that's good out into the world. And then I realized I don't have to learn everything and know everything and be the expert in every part of this industry. I can just interview these amazing people that are just experts at what they love the most. And then all the great information is coming out. So yeah, that's kind of how it evolved over time.
Yeah. Do you have a dream guest you'd love to have on the podcast?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I have a list of over 150 people, but if I had to just choose one, I would love to interview astronaut Dr. Karen Nyberg. She made a quilt block in space, and she's an amazing art quilter. She's doing wonderful projects in the quilting world. I have been able to connect with her team. I've received a tentative yes, but we still have to get the dates nailed down. And oh, it would just be so great to share her story. I would love to interview her.
All right. Well, that's out in the universe. So it's
Yeah,
going to happen.
right.
Can you share a memorable moment or conversation from the show that really stuck with you, or a show, or
From the podcast,
yeah?
yeah. Um, wow. I have to say, this is a little bit sad, but I would have to say I was gutted, absolutely gut wrenched when I had just interviewed Carol Lyles Shaw. Just a week before she passed away, the episode was supposed to air. And it was such a great conversation. And I was so inspired by her to give myself more time in my studio and to make my own art with a purpose. She's just been such a force of nature in the modern quilting world. And when she passed away, I just took a moment, like I needed a breather for a bit because although I didn't know her really well, I had just had this intensive experience with her and I was so inspired. And so I waited a couple weeks before I aired it. And like when I was ready, I rewrote the whole intro and outro of the podcast. And I kind of tried to make it a tribute,
Yeah.
to her really wonderful legacy. And I got a lot of great feedback from quilters who really loved her that were just so happy to hear her voice one more time. So that was really, a really memorable moment for me. But if we want to kind of look on the brighter side, I'd say some other big highlights were visiting the homes of Kay Fassett in England and then Gloria Loftman in Australia. I just can't believe that they invited me to their homes, and I may have invited myself to Kay's, but I can't believe that I was sitting in their homes, in their studios, talking about their creative process. Those were really some trips of a lifetime for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can imagine. What's next for you in the quilting world? Any upcoming projects, books, or collaborations you'd like to share?
Yeah. I'm kind of finding it hard to fit it all in, all the travel that's being asked of me and everything that I want to do. So I'm taking all of my workshops. I have about a dozen workshops that I teach, and I'm going to make them all available on demand. So that way quilters can take a step from quilting into artfulness, which is generally what I teach. And they can do it at their own pace, at their own home, with their own supplies and everything right beside them. And I already have one course up already called Square One. And it's like you make 6 little tiny art squares, and then you choose your favorite one and put it into your little art quilt. And coming soon, I have a tote bag that will be, it'll include fabric, painting, and improv. And it's just a whole really fun thing. And I got a designer to design a bag that we're making. So my friend Tara Sinclair from Uh-Oh Creations, she designed the bag, and I'm creating the front and back with the students in the class, and we'll kind of guide you through that whole process. So that's going to be up soon. It's kind of like something like goes along with that trend at QuiltCon, where you can have like a signature accessory that's quilted that you made yourself, and you can bring it to, the next quilt show that you attend. So I'm trying to make that transition to have things available online so that I have a little bit more time to stick to the business.
That's great. And I'm going to sign up for those. Those both sound fantastic. I was looking at Score One. I'm like, oh, I think I need that.
Yeah.
All right. So final question, Brandy. What's one piece of advice you'd give to quilters looking to push their creativity further?
Hmm. I would say try everything. Try everything and listen to yourself and do more of what you love. Don't forget what other people tell you to do or what they say. Just do what you love. And if you could just stay up all night doing something and the time passes so fast, then you know that that's the thing that you really love, right? So if you take something you really love and then you go take classes about it and you learn from the best, and you immerse yourself until you can't stand it anymore, and you can't stand yourself anymore because you're getting so good at it, and then you can start sharing that back with others. So once you become an expert in what you love the most, and you can't get over yourself because things are turning out better than you imagined, then you can kind of come full circle and then mentor other quilters to lift them up as well. So that's kind of my advice. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and just do what you love the most.
It's great advice. Brandy, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I loved chatting with you, and you're just full of wisdom and love and great advice. And thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sadie. You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much for helping me share a little bit of my story.